Hey, what's going on? Welcome to In Case You Wanted to Know. I'm John, Derek's in the house, and of course, Mr. Jim Henderson. What's the news, boys?
Let's see. I think the thing that's caught my attention recently and wanted to talk about is AI. And not sure if you guys are familiar with AI stands for, but I've been told it stands for artificial intelligence.
I've never heard of it.
Well, apparently it's not real, it's artificial. So the fact that it's artificial is a topic of conversation in of itself.
Well, fun fact, everything you're seeing behind and around me, this plywood cave that I appear to be sitting in, it's all AI generated. None of it's real.
Yeah, and the little
Nice
blue
job.
lights behind me, artificial intelligence.
Fake.
Not real.
Fake.
Okay, I'm lying. It actually is real, but
Actually,
that's neither here nor there.
so just so you know, I'm not really here. I'm on a boat fishing somewhere. This is AI representing
You're
me
fake
today.
too.
Yeah. No, I have better things to do, so I'm out fishing. But this is me in AI. I scheduled this meeting so that we could talk about the relevance and all the things we can do with it. And well, one of the things that popped up recently is, have you guys heard of Duolingo? And how the guy just said, I'm going to do all the training through AI now, and so we don't need anybody. And of course, there's a lot of backlash to that because people had a job, but then they didn't.
Who needs
but then
to
he
eat?
changed his mind and said, wait, no, I'm not going to get rid of jobs. We're not going to use all of AI. But so, yeah, AI, it's in front of us. What are your thoughts about that, Derek? I mean, you're in the digital world.
Yeah, there are sales guys that are hitting me up for recommendations because they've been replaced by AIs and AI and sequencing. Right down to what they're doing and what companies are doing is they're using AI and a replacement for the sales team that do the lead nurturing and get people interested between phone calls and emails. What's ending up happening is hot qualified leads are coming in and they're really 80% of the way there. Now, is that going to be a replacement for enterprise sales? Probably not. Is it going to be a replacement for true connection between two firms or two entities that have a need and have a service that can be provided? Probably not. But when it comes to transactional sales, it might be, impacting, and it's neither good nor bad. It's good for the business owner, but it's bad for the sales guy. So there is a couple sales guys that have been replaced, and it is an interesting spot to be in where the fear has been there that we're going to be replaced by AI, and it is happening today.
That's amazing. There is AI everywhere now. And the three of us have talked about it. There are times when it's not always easy to know if what you're engaging with is authentic or if it was generated by artificial intelligence. Some things are very easy to spot. AI it just keeps getting better. I was going to say day by day, but it's really minute by minute and second by second. It learns all the time. But there are some things that AI models, the AI engines, still haven't figured out. You can often look at an AI generated image of a human. Exactly, Derek. It hasn't figured out fingers and hands yet. So
Guitars
some of those
too.
Yeah, some of those things, it's really easy to tell what is authentic and what isn't. But there's other areas where it's not so easy to tell. And that's what's kind of sketchy and daunting about the mass use of AI. I use it. I think all three of us use it now and again. I think the danger with AI is the lengths to which people will allow AI to make decisions for them and utilize it as a morality tool and a decision-making tool. There needs to always be a human element in those processes.
You're absolutely right. The human element. I did a couple of exercises this morning I shared with you, Derek, just, kind of ethical, moral, faith-based type. We are predominantly, whether we want to agree with it or not, a Judean Christian type culture where we have this history, this background of knowledge, and whether we agree with it or not, that There's a creator of not just us, but a universe that's bigger than us. And, and I was querying AI about that. And it really struggles with some of, the end result of not of humans relying on AI as the total source of information, devoid of that intangible that AI will never understand, the human spirit, this vulnerability of fear and hate and love and kindness and compassion, those kinds of things. But as we rely more and more on AI and less on our human side, it's the antithesis of it, other than the cognitive learning and those things, deductive reasonings and that part. But so much of who we are has nothing to do with AI and how that's going to change the way people interact with one another over time.
I think it's important for people, and in case you wanted to know, you can use AI, but you can use it ethically. And so what
Mm-hmm.
we do with William C. Huff is we write blogs, and we used to have Jim writing at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and writing content. And what I've been able to do now is not necessarily just say, here's a title, go write it for me. I go do the research. I write the outline of what the blog should be. I take the sources that I want the AI to pull from, and then I let it write it. Then I go back in and I re-edit things. I take out certain things that are and source certain items and make sure that it's correct. But it's faster for me to do that than to have Jim be doing the research on the topic at 4 a.m. and then writing for 2 hours. And it allows Jim to actually focus on the business. And I think that if we as a society can ethically use these tools to speed up productivity, but also keep the authenticity in there with whatever we use it for, the human component, I think we'll be in a good spot. If we rely solely on AI to do everything for us, we're going to end up with Skynet and we're going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger robots coming after us.
Well, I think that's a great example, Derek, because, and you pointed out that the most important aspect of that process you just described is you, a human, as far as we know, being the last part of that chain and making sure
Well, it's
AI.
the first part. It's
Well,
the
it's the,
bookends. It's the
it's the
first part.
first,
It's the guardrails, and then it's the finishing touches. And there are mistakes. I mean,
of
that's the thing.
course.
And Jim talks about some of the AI. It's just puts out people will put stuff out that's just completely false based on what they get from AI. They don't even fact check it.
Right.
News agencies are guilty of doing exactly that. So there is a bookend here where you put the guardrails of the source, the outline, the
Mm-hmm.
content that you want it, the tone of voice, who it's for, who's going to be reading it, and then at the end putting the finishing touches on it and removing certain words that you just don't use in society because
Right.
AI will do that too, and you're not going to relate to the end user that way.
Yeah, you guys know I'm a musician. I like to make a little noise now and then, and the use of AI in the music industry it's getting more and more an everyday thing. In fact, there is a really, really popular YouTuber and studio engineer and musician, a fantastic guy named Rick Beato. He created an AI artist, used AI to create all the music. This Rick did this as sort of an experiment to see, how far can I go with this and make it a believable product and have people assume that it's a real person. And what he learned was he was able to go really, really far and people just didn't know. And I am by no means a professional musician on any level, but for people who are, and their livelihood is dependent on the music that they create, that's a very scary thing for them, because just like you were talking about with these sales teams, Derek, here's another whole industry where will you really need musicians anymore? And I've toyed around with some of those AI tools for, generative music. And yeah, I've put in guardrails and said, hey, create something with ABC in it. And the results sometimes are absolutely amazing, but I don't ever want to use it because for me, it's not at all real. but it's one of those things. It's there now. It exists. And even me, I'm sure I've heard music that was completely AI generated and I can't tell the difference. And that is scary as hell.
Yeah, I saw an article recently that came up that said there was this guy who created a fictitious band, 100% AI, and then just absolutely loaded Spotify, all of the channels
Apple
that
Music, Amazon. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
was getting royalties. And I guess he's in big trouble. It was just the other day. And I thought, wow, how easy is that these days to create something and nobody knows whether it's real or not?
Well,
Mm-hmm.
Jim, on that front, think about this. You go on chats on websites. Sometimes you call companies, and if you don't get somebody across the seas, you're getting just an AI bot or a number of different prompts that take you to an end outcome with something talking to you and telling you what you need to know, and then they hang up. Is there an opportunity now for companies that actually have a person on the other end of a chat on a website or a person that's on the other end of the phone to become almost like having a competitive advantage because they're not using AI?
It's definitely a differentiator. I think when something's easy, and using AI can be very easy. You don't have to, you can create an image that doesn't exist. I mean, it's not there. You can go in and create a website. You can go in and create content strictly using AI. And unless the consumer is really aware of the things to look for, you can be deceived. And I think that the differentiator is actually getting a real person. And there is a way to tell currently a real person from, an AI voice. I mean, will it ever get to a point where it's so real that you won't be able to tell? Possibly. But today, as we sit here doing this podcast, I think the thing that people need to know is, yeah, there are ways of looking. I looked up our own company. I wanted to know what AI thought of us. And AI is just going to scrub whatever's out there. They're going to scrub YouTube, Yelp, And here's the question that I asked, and I shared this, I think, with both of you yesterday. In the question that I asked AI, is William C. Huff Company, New Hampshire, a trustworthy company? The overview was William C. Huff Company's moving and storage, established in 1908, is widely considered to be trustworthy. And then it goes into details. And a lot of it is stuff that they get from a website, but it's also stuff they're getting over social media. So I Googled a couple other companies, the same question. And even though they said, I don't want to go into names, but XYZ company is generally a trustworthy company. They have a 4.9, 4.8 Google review, and two or three other things. But apparently AI can generate Google reviews, I found out. So we get a lot of great Google reviews, but they're all real. But anyway, AI can deceive, but if you know how to look at the right signs, it can tell you what you need to know about a service industry. The consumer can be fooled, but an educated consumer, and again, that's why we're doing, in case you wanted to know, you can, if you know what to look for when you're Googling a service provider, if you realize that if there's nothing negative, that's probably a pretty good company. If there's something negative, there's probably a lot more behind the scenes than what AI is telling you.
So Stephen Hawking had a theory. It's called the Fermi paradox, and that the reason why we haven't met aliens documented is that technology corrodes the fabric of cultures before they're able to do interstellar travel. And it makes me wonder if AI is corroding trust, it's corroding respect, it's corroding the ability for us humans to have that mutual connection. Could there be some logic to what Stephen Hawking had said before he passed away?
I would say that's probably accurate.
So that in fact our own striving for more or better is our undoing.
And that's what he was implying.
And when you think about it, AI didn't just it didn't create itself. We did in our relentless pursuit to know more, to know more. And again, we're talking AI, and again, maybe our audience, anyone who's listening that wants to know, there's two other elements that are coming up, and it's AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is another level, and we're getting there very quickly. And then shortly thereafter is what they call artificial superintelligence, ASI. And those are the great unknowns. How does that affect society, and how will we respond as humans when intelligence is so super and so fast that it doesn't even consider the human element in its programming? And again, is it going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is it going to be Terminator? Is it going to be, the machines just say, there's no need for these people anymore? I don't want to be a doomsdayer, but it is kind of interesting.
Of course it is, and it's frightening too. You said that there is no timeline on when ASI will be here. Well, I went to Google Gemini and asked AI when ASI might be a reality, and it answered in the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, 5.
Okay. So it's coming. And I think when talking about AI, it's important to realize that there are really, really good and useful and beneficial uses and tools for AI, as just as there are, tools and uses that are nefarious and not going to be beneficial to mankind.
When Ford was producing cars, it was a scourge of humanity. The cars were going to kill people. They were uncontrollable. They were this and that. Yeah, there's, like you said, there's going to be naysayers about it. Any advance in technology.
Of course. Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of our favorite tools, AI tools, and I'll start. One of mine is Google Gemini that I just mentioned. For me, Gemini is a great tool because what generally it does is that it is Google's AI tool. And I have found Gemini to be a far better search tool than just going to google.com and Googling a question, because Gemini will scrub all of the pages that Google indexes and it will aggregate all the information. So if I search, where do I find, what's the fastest Porsche on the road? If I asked Google that, I would then go through, I would click every page, read it, hit the back button, check the next one, read it, hit the back button. Google Gemini takes all those search results, reads them, and aggregates all that data in its answer for me. So I have found Gemini to be a great time saver if I, especially with general information. If it's something very important or what have you, I will take the time and do my own aggregating of data. But for general knowledge, it's a fantastic tool, and I love it for that. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, I use ScaleNut. It does a lot of our blogs in the capacity that I had alluded to. Our landing pages, I use that with our agency to, create the right landing pages with the right information on the services that we provide. But it gives me really good kind of a guideline of what Google's looking for and what our potential clients are looking for. And it data scrapes from, everywhere, competitors, industry standards, you name it, which is something that did not exist 2 years ago. Right. And it's been hugely helpful for me to do my job.
How about Chat GPT, one of the forerunners that came out quick, and it still holds a big market out there for, what do people generally use Chat GPT? Because I'm not a Chat GPT guy.
I have not messed too much with Chat GPT. My understanding, though, is that GPT tends to be a little more creative based. Like if you're looking for an artificially created image of something, give me an image of a car jumping across a river, or something like that. GPT is where you want to go for something like that. And please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I use something. We've got this piece of property that we wanted to write a description of what it does, and it's a unique property. And I use this AI tool called Easy Peasy, And you go in and it's templates, and you can just, it's any industry, real estate, you can go into finance, and you can create, you know, a blog, you can create, you know, literally a brochure or whatever.
It was funny. The three of us were on a business call just before doing this record, and the company we were talking to, and they openly admitted it. They weren't covering it up, but you know, it was a lovely presentation that they put together for us, and it looked to me like almost all the images in there were AI generated. And again, this
Yes.
gentleman is great, and he said, you know, absolutely. I think it was Chat GPT or whomever, but
Yeah.
it is AI, and AI based tools are here. That's
Yeah.
that's just it. They're here, and I don't see them going away anytime soon.
Well, as part of our debate this morning, Jim, and it wasn't really a debate, it was more of a discussion through email, but let's hope that we get regulation, and maybe we can do a podcast some other time to talk about regulation of AI. But the hope is, I hope, and I'm optimistic this will be the case, is that AI is going to open up time for us to chase our passions. Jim, reading scripture and playing music, John, things that you enjoy. I like spending time with my kids and poking around comic cons, that we would have more time to chase our passions, to educate ourselves, to better ourselves, and that we're not going to be using it for nefarious reasons, or that the few are going to buy up all the AI and turn us all into peasants, which I think is a lot of the fear that you'll see in the media right now. But let's hope that happens. Regulation needs to happen in order to make that not be the case in the future. But it really is an opportunity for us to create as happy a community, a connected community as can be, through our own passions and the things that we enjoy.
Yeah, it's like anything else. Anything in the wrong hands can be harmful, and the same thing in the right hands can be very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in a very agricultural northern Maine area where, the tools at hand would be a gun, and it was very helpful because you'd use it to get food, and you would kill deer or pheasant, and you would eat them because that's what you did. But in the wrong hands, we all know what that can do. And it's like anything that can be helpful, can be harmful, depending on who and what the purposes behind it are. And I agree, Derek. I just, the hope is in humanity that the powers to be will understand that this can be used in a really positive way to enhance and create environments that enhance our
Quality
being.
of life.
But also,
Yeah.
We talk about so many things about community and environment, and AI can figure out in a split second how that's supposed to work, and we should be able to use that in a way that really can change. And if you think about the calculations that I spent gazillions of hours figuring out how many gazillion megawatt hours we use to light our homes, so that we know what the carbon footprint is for the country, for the state, for AI's got all that now. And I don't have to go and convert a megawatt into a kilowatt. So in the right hands, doing it for the right reasons, I would like to think that these things that we think are out of reach, environmental issues, should be in reach very easily if it's used properly.
Well, I think the
Just a thought.
takeaway is that, yeah, no, I think that's totally relevant. I think the takeaway from this conversation is that all these tools that are out there are they can be wonderful, they can be not so wonderful, but AI is part of society now. And not to put more on everyone's plate, but you do have to be cognizant that it is a part of society. It's part of social media, it's part of mass media, broadcast networks, things like that. So you do have to kind of keep your eye and be aware that what you're seeing might not necessarily be real and genuine, that you can use some of these tools to make your life better, to be more efficient in your work life and, in your home life and your hobbies. And I don't know. It's scary, but I think it's also exciting at the same time.
Yeah. On that, I think
That's a cherry.
let's see where this might be in 6 months, because just bookmark this one, and if all three of us can do this exact same podcast in 6 months and not one of us be here, that's cool, sort of.
Well, I tell you what. Okay, so here's how we'll wrap this one up. I will find a way, or see if there is a way, that I can at some point down the road post a podcast where none of us were involved, but it appears to the outside that all three of us were involved. And if I can make that happen, I'll just post it and we'll see if anybody notices.
I don't think it's available just yet. That I think
it's
logically and mathematically, it's definitely a possibility within 6 months.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, great conversation, guys. Appreciate your thoughts and your time.
Thanks, guys.